Castlehaven, 13 points. Dingle, 13 points. What a dramatic, incredible, bizarre finish to a game of Gaelic football. One of the most, it wasn't the most best of spectacles. It wasn't probably the most entertaining game of football you'll watch. But obviously the conditions definitely played a huge part in that. You could see on camera, the TG Cahar cameras were, having an absolute struggle. The ball was moving around like a bowling ball. It was very hard to keep hold of. The wind was blowing in multiple different directions. It looked like nearly there was a hurricane out there on the field. And it was just a mental game because Dingle on numerous occasions had this game done and dusted. They had it won. They had it wrapped up. And honestly, tonight, the Dingle management, the players will be left scratching their heads and thinking, how on earth did we not win that game? Because they literally had almost everything work in their favour. First of all, Castlehaven had two key players injured in the first half, and Conor Cahalan and Michael Hurley. Michael Hurley's probably been their most influential player in this year's club season. Both of those go off through injuries. Castlehaven were doing well to keep in touch with Dingle. They were getting a couple of points here and there. Brian Hurley had a bit of a decent performance, and they were doing well to keep up with the pace of Dingle. But there was multiple occasions where it looked like Dingle were going to run away with this. They went 3 points up at the start of the second half. They were looking comfortable. Obviously, there was a bit of a breeze against them in the second half, so it was tough to hold on to that lead. But you just felt like it was there for Dingle. Jamie O'Driscoll gets himself sent off, and going into the final 6 or 7 minutes, you're thinking, right, they're going to hang on here. They're going to have enough to see the day out. But one man who deserves an enormous amount of credit for Castlehaven is Cathal Maguire, because he came up trumps big time for Castlehaven. He sets up the winning free for Brian Hurley, who then pops it over the bar in injury time of normal time in the 64th minute, just a couple of minutes after Conor Gainey had thought he had won it for Dingle. That sends the game to extra time, and Dingle come roaring out of the blocks. They hit the opening 3 scores. Paul Gainey with 2, Tom O'Sullivan on the score sheet. You're thinking, okay, Castlehaven, they look like the legs had gone. They just looked a bit tired. You were thinking it's going to be too tough for them to turn it around. They get a point for Mark Collins in the 72nd minute. And you're thinking, all right, maybe they have a chance here. A couple of half-goal chances, a couple of goal-mouth scrambles. Brian Hurley is a 45 that goes short. And you're thinking, going into injury time now of extra time, surely now that's it. Surely now Dingle are going to be able to see this through and get over the line. But Cathal Maguire comes up trumps. He gets a point, gives them a lifeline of a chance. We played over the 2 minutes. But there had been a couple of substitutions, a couple of stoppages. So I think the referee was right to allow the extra bit of time. And then Cathal Maguire nicks the late point again for Castlehaven to send it to penalties. Just extraordinary. The amount of times Castlehaven looked beaten, the amount of times they looked done, and yet they've still gone all the way. And even in the penalty shootout, Dingle missed Dingle were the first ones in the penalty shootout to miss. So Castlehaven initially had the advantage. But then going into sudden death, or just before sudden death, Castlehaven missed 2 big penalties. And it's there. Tom O'Sullivan places the ball down. Bit of mind games from Conor Cahalan in goal, who looked about as mad as a box of frogs. He was smiling away. He was laughing away. He looked, probably not the man you want to see when you're in those fierce weather conditions and you're placing the ball down to score a penalty, and the pressure is absolutely enormous, because he looked like he was absolutely loving it out there. And Tom O'Sullivan misses it. His penalty is saved. It then goes down to the next penalty. Conor Cahalan, ironically, is the man to step up for the next penalty, puts it in, and then Dingle missed the resulting penalty. And that's it. Castlehaven win it. Munster champions. Absolutely incredible stuff. And actually, just looking at the game, the only time, I'm just trying to see here, I think the only time they never once led in this game. They never once led in this game, which is mad, because Dingle will look at it and think, were we really beaten? Because we were actually never behind. It went to penalties. But that's football. And obviously with the fact that it's such a tight, congested schedule, means obviously that's the reason why this game goes to penalties. Is it the right decision for games to go to penalties? I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, it made for some incredible drama. And you just had a feeling like when Castlehaven got the game to penalties, you were thinking, is their name on the trophy here? How many times have we seen this down the years where one team just refuses to bow down, refuses to give up, refuses to accept their defeat, and they're the ones who go on and taste the victory? And yeah, look, Brian Hurley was phenomenal, 7 points. Cathal Maguire with 4 points. Mark Collins with 2 points from wingback. They were their only 3 scores in the game. Dingle, I thought, largely had control of the game. They dictated the flow of the game. They had the majority of the possession. Conor Gainey was excellent, 4 points from him. Paul Gainey with 4 points. Dylan Gainey, a little bit quieter maybe than some previous games, but he still got on the score sheet with a point. And Dingle had a much more spread of scores. Their wingbacks are getting on the score sheet. Tom O'Sullivan got on the score sheet as well. And you were thinking, yeah, like Dingle had this. They had this game within their grasp, and you were thinking they're going to be the ones to become the champions. But that was not the case. Castlehaven, as I said, just had other ideas. They just had other ideas. And despite the adversity of key injuries to Conor Cahalane, who himself went off injured and was of course came back on for the penalty. Or was that Damien Cahalane who went off? Might have been, actually. Yeah, I mean, there was so much going on in this game. It was very hard to follow. Conditions absolutely mental. You've obviously got the Watergrames-Glen Scottstown game happening as well. So much happening all at the one time. But yeah, obviously Michael Hurley is the man who also goes off, and that was huge. You know, you're losing a key forward, and you're thinking this is going to be tough for Dingle. This is going to be tough for them or tough for Castlehaven to find the response. But by God, did they find a response? Liam, with a couple of emojis there. Zach says here, Dingle will be disappointed with dropping off them in normal time. Silly tactic, but fair play to both teams. They put on a good game under the circumstances. Yeah, look, it was very tough. It was very tough conditions. I don't think anyone can have any fault of the players. I don't think either side played badly, or, you know, I've seen on Twitter a few people saying Dingle threw this game away. Yeah, maybe you could say so, given the amount of opportunities they had to win it. But it was such a tough game to manage with the conditions. So hard to keep onto the ball. When you were playing against wind in the second half, it made life so difficult. Because your kickouts, you know, the ball was basically coming back. You know, you couldn't get enough drive or distance on kickouts, which meant that you were losing a lot of possession, and both sides really struggled. I mean, you only have to look at extra time. Castlehaven conceded 3 points, didn't score in the first half of extra time, and then in the second half of extra time, Dingle concede 3 points and don't score. So it was very, very tough for them. Very tough game to manage. Unusual set of circumstances, really. But look, you know, this is the magic of club championships. Sometimes teams find ways to win. And that's what Castlehaven have done. And look, going up against St. Bridget's in the semi-finals of the All-Ireland, I mean, look, Bridget's will be the favourites, but Castlehaven have been underdogs in a vast majority of games that they've played today. I know they were favourites against Rathcormac and Clonlara, and Cratloe. But, you know, in Cork, they were underdogs a lot of the time. Underdogs again today. You know, Crow Park against Bridget's. I think that game's going to be in Crow Park. Look, I mean, there's a chance. There is a chance, and who knows? The Castlehaven story is far from ran. So, yeah, you would have seen some of the scenes, obviously, a full time there at the start of the reaction as well. That was from our good man, Matthew Hurley, who was at the game. He'll be on the show tomorrow to review the weekend's games. Obviously, Glen and Scottstown happening right now. I've missed the entirety of the first half because I was watching this just like everyone else, but there we go. Dylan says, should have gone to a replay. Penalties have no place in the GAA. Yeah, look, I've said it before. I do, you know, I think it probably should be a replay, you know, like I think penalties is not a fundamental skill of Gaelic games. You know, hitting the ball off the ground only happens usually in 45s or frees. So, you know, hitting penalties really is not a huge skill unless, you know, an opposition player makes a foul and it results in a penalty. Golden score. I mean, again, though, with the conditions, it's harsh because it just depends on the toss. You know, who's attacking which way. We could have been still there now. If it was golden score, goes to a replay, I suppose where do you fit? Do you just play the game next weekend? I suppose there is a gap there. Maybe players wouldn't be too happy with that. I think it just depends on the players at the end of the day. If players are consulted about it and they all vote, and decide what they want to do, club players all around the country, then, if they go with penalties, they go with penalties. But I'm not too sure that's how it's done. But yeah, look, in the end, it is what it is. I think, to be fair to Dingle, they had more than enough chances to win it. And even in the penalty shootout, they had a chance to win it. So, as much as, Dingle fans or supporters will be saying this game shouldn't have gone to penalties, the game was there for them to have won it. They should have just hung on to the ball towards the end, hit it deep, hit it long. They're trying to run it out towards the end and ended up losing possession. So, look, it is what it is. Fair play to Castlehaven. Massive, massive win for them. Huge congratulations. I'm sure there will be some celebrations in their clubhouse tonight. And I'm sure we'll catch up with Matthew tomorrow to see what those celebrations were like inside full time. So hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. My name's Aaron. We'll be live after the Glen versus Scottstown game, even though, I'll be honest, I haven't seen any of it so far. But we'll be live after the game. So hit the like button, subscribe, and we will chat to you then.